Toads don't drink water like we do, which is wild. They actually absorb moisture through their skin, particularly through the pelvic patch on their belly. They do this by congregating in damp areas. Staying hydrated is like lying on a sponge. They go into a kind of moisture-absorbing frenzy when it rains, taking in as much water as they can to store for days when it is dry. Let's talk about reproduction because toads put on a whole show when they breed. Male toads congregate around shallow wetlands, ponds, and puddles every spring as temperatures rise and the rains begin to fall. They begin calling, more like a high-pitched trill than a croak, to attract females. The sound is surprisingly pleasant. The male climbs onto the female's back in an amplexus position when she chooses a mate. He fertilizes the eggs externally after she lays long strings of them, sometimes thousands. It's easy, quick, and done in minutes. The frog-like tadpoles that emerge from the eggs undergo a stunning transformation over the following few weeks. They eventually emerge from the water as tiny toads with fully formed legs, tails, and lungs. Toadlets are these tiny baby toads, often smaller than a fingernail, and they are extremely vulnerable during their first few days on the land. However, they may live for a long time if they survive. Some toads can live up to 10 years in the wild. In captivity? They've been alive for more than 30 years. Do you want to discuss how to survive the winter? That is also covered by toads. Toads spend the winter months hibernating underground in colder regions. They burrow below the frost line, where the temperature stays just above freezing, using their back legs to dig down. They basically fall into a deep sleep for months with no food or water, just surviving like amphibian snowbirds as their metabolism slows to a crawl. A fun fact about toads is that they don't jump like frogs. Their shorter legs are designed more for walking or short hops. Toads, on the other hand, prefer to move slowly and in a more controlled manner than frogs do. They appear to always be in charge of their next move because of this, which is part of what gives them that grounded, stubborn look. Toads also have pretty good senses. They have sharp vision, especially at night. They can even sense ground vibrations because their hearing is tuned for mating calls and danger. Toads may be able to detect changes in barometric pressure, according to some studies, allowing them to anticipate rain and arrive just in time to take advantage of it. In your backyard, nature's own weather forecasters. Toads aren't just ugly frogs. Here are the reasons why toads rarely receive affection. The majority of people associate them with filthy, warty little hoppers that emerge when it rains. Toads, on the other hand, are fascinating, tough, and even kind of heroic when you look closer. They've been around longer than your family tree could ever trace back, have survival skills that would make a Navy SEAL jealous, and they help your garden without asking for anything in return. So, let's dive into the wild and underappreciated world of toads and find out what makes them different from other animals. To begin, a shocking fact: toads are in fact a species of frog. Yes, every toad is a frog, but not every frog is a toad. Frogs with dry, bumpy skin, shorter legs, and a preference for land over water are typically referred to as toads. If you see a toad hopping around your backyard, it's probably squat, slow, and covered in warts. They are the frog family's more rugged and reserved cousins. The American toad, Anaxyrus americanus, is one of the most prevalent toads in the United States. These guys are basically amphibians everyman. They can be found in schoolyards, parks, forests, gardens, and even parking lots. One of the reasons they've survived in such a variety of environments is that they're very adaptable. Toads, unlike many frogs, do not require a constant source of water. They are fine as long as they have some moisture and a place to lay eggs in the spring. Let's now discuss those warts. Everyone has heard the legend that touching a toad will cause warts. Complete nonsense. The toad's warts are a part of their defense system, so the bumpy skin they have is neither infectious nor harmful. A mild toxins actually comes out of some of the larger bumps, like the parotoid glands behind their eyes. Although this chemical does not harm humans, predators find it unpleasant to eat. Therefore, if a raccoon or snake tries to eat a toad, it will probably spit it out after one bite and never do so again. Not bad for a creature that doesn't have fangs or claws. A cool fact about toads is that they are pest control machines. In one summer, a single toad can consume thousands of insects. We're talking about everything from earwigs to slugs to beetles to mosquitoes. That's why farmers and gardeners consider toads to be free, all-natural helpers. They go out at night, eat the bugs you don't want, and are gone by the time you wake up. Furthermore, they never send you a bill. Toads are primarily nocturnal, so they are most active at night. They hide out in cool, damp places like under flower pots, mulch beds, and logs during the day. Additionally, their camouflage is superb. They blend seamlessly into the landscape thanks to their mottled brown, gray, or olive green hues. It's possible that you're standing next to one and won't notice it until it moves. But there isn't just good news. Toads, like many amphibians, are in danger. Some areas are experiencing population declines as a result of pollution, habitat destruction, pesticides, and climate change. Thousands of toads perish annually during spring migrations to breeding ponds due to road hazards. In many locations, conservation efforts are underway, but raising awareness is essential. Including a small toad shelter in your backyard or avoiding chemical use in your garden can support the health of the local population. Toads date back more than 250 million years. They observed the rise and fall of the dinosaurs. Droughts and ice ages did not kill them. They did it all without making any significant changes. Respect is due to someone with that kind of persistence. They are tough, adaptable, and quietly incredible, despite not being flashy or trendy. Therefore, the next time you see a toad in your yard or on a hiking trail, don't jump back or wrinkle your nose. Take a moment. Pay attention to how it moves, how it blends in, and how it looks out over the world with its sage, wide eyes. There is more to that little creature than just bumpy skin. It has survived. A wolf hunter, a supporter also, a little American legend in its own peculiar, warty way. Now I explain. Fowler's toad or the American toad wins a battle? Let's face it. When people think of fights between animals, they usually picture lions slaughtering zebras or sharks fighting in the deep sea. A different kind of battle, on the other hand, is going on in the quiet parts of your backyard, deep in the woods, or even under the porch. It's sluggish. There's silence. But there is no denying that it is fierce. We are discussing toad fights. Even though they don't roar or charge like wild animals, these tiny titans have their own way of settling disputes and staying alive in a world where nearly everything wants to eat them. Let's figure out who's who before we move on to the battle of the toads. There are a number of significant players in the toad industry in the United States alone, and each has its own advantages, disadvantages, and strategies for the battlefield. The American toad, Anaxyrus americanus, is the most well-known. It's the amphibian world's classic, straightforward blue-collar fighter. It is tough, able to change, and doesn't mind fighting, especially when mating season is here. From Minnesota to Maine and down to the Carolinas, the American toad is common.